Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I'd like to welcome you back to Parliament after a break. It's been 6 weeks since you've been here. And I know the member from Don Valley West who put forward this private member's bill has been waiting a long time for it to be heard in this Parliament so we can send it to committee, so it can be reviewed, it may be amended, and we'll pass it. It's a proud day in this Parliament where I can stand and speak in favor of the Canada's flag. And Mr. Speaker, I first like to talk a bit about private members' business after listening to the diatribe by the member opposite about what we should be talking about and when we should be talking about it. I believe there's never a bad time to talk about how great this nation is and the symbols that represent this nation. We live in a great nation. And I know the member across the way may not agree, but it's never a bad time to talk about what a great nation we have and the symbols like the Canadian flag that make us a great nation. And the member from Don Valley West has put forward a tremendous bill. A bill that may need some small revisions, may need some changes when it gets to committee. And I'm going to promote today why we should send this bill to committee and why we ask all members across the way to pass it. And he's been waiting, and the people in his constituency have been waiting, and in fact many Canadians have been waiting to make sure that we protect valuable symbols in this country. Symbols like the Canadian flag, symbols that represent the unity of this nation from coast to coast to coast. And unlike my member across the way, my friend across the way, I stand in support of the member from Don Valley West, and I stand in support that this is a proper time to talk about a flag that represents this great nation. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to provide additional comments in addressing Bill C-288, an act which encourages the flying of the national flag of our country in every part of our beautiful country like Canada. And last month we had the opportunity to hear comments from many members of Parliament on this bill that was introduced on September 27, 2011. This opportunity is again being offered to us today, and I'm pleased to be able to express my support for such a bill that encourages all Canadians to fly their national flag not only where they live, but everywhere across the country. Canadians are proud of their flag, and we should be able to display this flag not only on special days like Canada Day or Flag Day, but on each and every day of the year. I support my colleague, the member from Don Valley West, who introduced the bill, and I'd like to ask all the members of Parliament to vote in favour of this bill. We agree with some of the proposals that would result in amendments to this bill, and we want to encourage condominium cooperations, homeowner associations, landlords or others who may have control over shared property to make provision to allow for the display of the national flag of Canada on their property. We agree with any modifications that will simply encourage Canadians to proudly display the national flag. The prohibition as it was first included in the bill could also be reviewed. The intent of this bill is to still be valid, and we should let the committee study the bill further to make necessary amendments. Let me remind everyone sitting in this House today that our flag belongs to all Canadians. It's an emblem we all share. We will remember that it was in 1964 a Senate and House of Commons committee was formed to respond to government's wish to adopt the distinctive national Canadian flag. And the colours of our national flag are based on a strong sense of Canadian history. The combination of red, then white, and then red first appeared on the General Service Medal issued by Queen Victoria. Red and white were subsequently proclaimed as Canada's national colours by King George V in 1921. The single red maple leaf on a white field is similar to the device worn by all Canadian Olympic athletes since 1904. The committee eventually decided to recommend the single leaf design, which was approved by the resolution of the House of Commons on December 15, 1964. This was followed by the Senate on December 17, 1964, and proclaimed by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen of Canada, to take effect on February 15, 1965, and on that day, a new Canadian flag was raised for the first time on Parliament Hill and at embassies and consulates across the world. Everyone will remember the following words that were spoken on the momentous day by the Speaker of the Senate, adding further symbolic meaning to our flag, and I quote, "The flag is a symbol of the nation's unity, for it, beyond any doubt, represents all the Canadians, all the citizens of Canada, without the distinction of race, language, belief, or opinion. The Canadian flag represents the principle of freedom, democracy, courage, and justice, upon which our great nation is based." On that day, that the Parliament was where Maple Leaf flag was first raised over Parliament Hill, the Prime Minister addressed the audience and stating that this day, the 15th day of February 1965, will always be remembered as a milestone in Canada's national progress. And for almost half a century, our flag has watched over us as we have grown and matured and prospered. It welcomed the world to our 100th birthday and Expo 67. It followed Terry Fox on his Marathon of Hope. It beckoned our friends the world over to join us at Expo 86 and the Calgary Olympics, and it proudly presided over our 125th birthday in 1992. It flew with graceful optimism as we embarked on a new millennium. The day after day, it still reminds us of a tolerant, peaceful, and blessed people that represent this country. We witnessed Clary Hughes, Canada's Olympic flag bearer, carrying our national flag at the opening of the 2010 Olympic Winter Games, accompanied by the top athletes in our country, and in fact, many of the top athletes in the world. Team Canada, I'm sure that this proud moment in our country's history is something that we will always remember, as will Canadians from coast to coast to coast. It's red and white in honor of Canada's official colors. It displays a single red maple leaf, which is a national symbol, a traditional emblem of this nation. A maple leaf is a familiar symbol of our vast and beautiful country that reflects our common values and our sense of community. In 1867, Alexander Muir composed the song, "The Maple Leaf Forever," to express his profound roots to maple leafs in the Canadian history. Considered by flag experts as one of the world's most recognizable flags, based on its simple design and limited number of colors, the national flag of Canada is admired by people in every corner of the world as a symbol of freedom, a symbol of democracy. Its clean, bold lines speak of our shared values and our sense of common purpose, our sense of national community. And although simple in design, Canada's flag well represents the common values we hold so dear. While at the same time, its striking simplicity, the Canadian flag speaks to the exciting challenges and huge opportunities our nation possesses for the future. It represents all that we have accomplished together and moments that have served to define us as a nation and as a people. And today, 46 years later, the maple leaf flag is recognized and respected worldwide. The Canadian flag demonstrates the common values so dear to our hearts of freedom, peace, respect, justice, and tolerance. It is a familiar sight in towns and cities across this vast and beautiful land. And it flies from coast to coast to coast, from the beautiful north to the valleys and mountains of British Columbia and the coves of Atlantic Canada. The maple leaf pays homage to our geography and reflects the grandeur of our history and represents our national identity. Silently, it speaks for all the citizens of Canada, regardless of their language, their beliefs, their race, or their opinion. The Canadian flag is a symbol that unites the Canadian population and expresses everywhere in the world and everywhere in Canada that our pride, the pride we have in being Canadian. The national flag can be seen in our embassies and missions abroad, and it is unmissable in Afghanistan, where our Canadian soldiers have made enormous sacrifices to secure peace and safeguard the Afghani people. Our flag is a peaceful and prominent symbol of Canada, and around the world, the international community, it symbolizes the freedom to express distinct cultural perspectives, a sign of openness and accommodation. Our flag is the symbol beyond all others that brings Canadians together. Not only does it represent our free and compassionate and caring society, it also represents each and every citizen and their pride in seeing it fly in the vast Canadian skies. We have a lot to be proud of in this country, and the flag symbolizes this to us and the world about what is best about Canada. It speaks of tolerance, mutual respect, compassion, and acceptance, and these are deeply ingrained values in the Canadian character. It is a reflection of us all, and it is a reflection of a belief that we all need to celebrate, that the flag is an important part of a national identity. We fly it on flagpoles, we sew it on our backpacks, we put decals on our cars and bicycles, and whenever we do, we send a message of pride and unity to our friends and neighbours across Canada, and in fact, across the world. The Government of Canada is proud to celebrate each year on February 15th as National Flag Day. It is an excellent opportunity to learn about and reflect on our shared heritage and express our collective identity. And on that day across the country, there are literally thousands of events celebrating National Flag Day. In my own riding in Cumberland, Colchester, and the Musquodoboit Valley, there's a big event in a place called Parsboro, an area with the highest tides in the world, an area where Tidal Power is going to engage that community and grow that community. Those people in Parsboro, Nova Scotia celebrate Flag Day each and every year. They are patriotic. They believe in Canada. They believe in Canada's unity. And Mr. Speaker, on their behalf, I stand here today in support of this bill, Bill C-288, and the member of Don Valley West, and I encourage members opposite to stand and support this bill and send it to committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Here.